Good evening and welcome to the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals, Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. First order of business is the roll call.
Bruce Forster,
Here.
Craig Burrow,
Here.
Luke Phelan,
Here.
Tim Crawford,
Here.
Nate Hummel is not present.
Okay, second thing is the approval of the previous minutes.
I so move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next order of business is a motion to adjourn pursuant to the county board's vote on petition number 24-P-1638 Kessel special use permit. Thanks.
I'll make a motion to approve,
You make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
adjourn the meeting.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn and we have a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. There is no old business. And so we have new business. And we now convene the public hearing as to Mound Hill Road North and South Solar LLCs, petitions number 25-P-1639 and 25-P-1640 for special uses to site a commercial solar system proposed to lay within Palmyra Township here in Lee County. First, however, under our rules, this body is permitted to engage the services of an independently contracted facilitator to conduct these proceedings. I will now entertain a motion to engage retired Judge Tim Slavin as the facilitator for the evidentiary arguments and fact-finding phases of this hearing.
I move to have Judge Slavin handle the proceedings.
Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. I will now turn the hearing over to that facilitator, Judge Slavin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Lee County Board. Welcome, good evening. It's wonderful to see all my Lee County friends once more. I hope everyone's healthy, remaining safe. My name is Tim Slavin, and I'm a retired circuit judge engaged as an independent contractor to what is called facilitate this hearing. I have no adjudicatory responsibilities. I am not for or against any particular position. I am a neutral. I am here, hopefully, to add some process, organization, efficiency, and flow to these proceedings. This is, as Mr. Forster said, both Mound Hill Road North Solar LLCs and Mound Hill Road South Solar LLCs petitions, Lee County number 25-P-1639 and 25-P-1640 for special use permits to develop a proposed commercial solar energy system in Palmyra Township here in Lee County. If for whatever reason a person chooses not to personally appear in the courtroom, through the good offices of the Lee County IT department, you can attend virtually from your home, business, or other remote location on the Zoom video conferencing platform. Or, while not being able to participate, one can watch and listen on YouTube. The Zoom meeting ID is 915-3923-9154. I'll repeat that at least tonight twice. Zoom meeting ID 915-3923-9154. And the password is 209840. For the second time, the password is 209840. That meeting ID and password will remain the same throughout this hearing process. The Zoom platform allows an interested party to actually participate. It is interactive. One may not only see and hear what is taking place, but when the appropriate stage comes, one may ask a witness questions, call one's own witnesses, testify, or give a closing comment. Further, in an attempt to be as transparent and inclusive as possible, we are also streaming this proceeding on YouTube. However, YouTube is not an interactive platform. On it, one can only watch and hear what is being done and said during the hearing, but cannot participate in it. As to YouTube, on your computer or your cell phone, use your browser, go to www.youtube.com. In the search bar, it should appear, type Lee County IL, short for Illinois, IL, Zoning Board of Appeals. There's no need to worry about upper or lowercase letters. That should bring up a list of the Lee County ZBA YouTubes. Input and select the date, and voila, you should be seeing us here in the hearing room. However, you should be advised that the YouTube feed is, because of the cyberspace stuff, it does have a short real-time delay. Now, for a bit more substance. There are two general groupings of attendees as this Zoning Board of Appeals hearing moves forward. One bunch I refer as necessaries. These are people who must, as a practical matter, attend this hearing in person. They consist of your hardworking and practically volunteer Zoning Board of Appeals members, Ms. Alice Henkel, your county's outstanding zoning officer, your adroit Assistant State's Attorney, Stephanie Sasser, a Lee County IT technician, tonight it's Jonathan. At any given time, of course, a witness, myself, and finally, hardly but not least, our hardworking and skilled court reporter, who for this evening's proceeding is Cammie. The other folks I will group into what I refer to as interested parties. These are those of you folks who are with us either personally or remotely on Zoom or YouTube because you simply want to observe your county government at work, or beyond that, you have a particular interest in these proceedings. The next thing I will try to explain is the process for these interested parties to participate. I emphasize. Please know that everyone will have an opportunity to participate. But for everyone's benefit, it will be provided in a manner that is both orderly and efficient. There are many reasons for an interested party's appearance this evening and during subsequent sessions, whether in person or digitally. You could be a member of the public who is joining us simply as a citizen and spectator. You could be a member of the public who wants to be heard. This does not necessarily mean someone who is absolutely for or absolutely against the requested special use, but someone who wants to participate. If you are such a person, you will fall into any one or more of three subcategories. First subcategory, you want to offer testimony. This means you desire, under oath, to have you or a witness of your calling to testify to facts relevant to the board's eventual decision. Such is not the time to describe your feelings or announce your opinion, but to aver facts, testify about facts, and you are subject to cross-examination. Everyone so wishing to testify will be given one opportunity to do so. The second subcategory is you are someone who wants to be able to cross-examine witnesses. But please, that is just the time to ask questions of a particular witness, not to argue with him or her. Everyone so wishing to cross-examine will be given one opportunity to cross-examine each and every witness. Or the third subcategory is you're an interested party who wants to make a closing statement, or sometimes it's called a public comment. That's your opportunity to stand up and give a speech, tell the board how you feel, or give them your opinion based on the facts adduced during the whole hearing process. as to what their decision should be. During this closing statement or speech stage, one cannot allege new facts. When one thinks about it, the reason is simple. The two most important parts of adducing the truth or accuracy of matters at a hearing are missing at that point. You are not under oath and you're not subject to cross-examination. Everyone wishing to give a closing statement or comment will be given one opportunity to do so. For those of you joining us on the Zoom platform this evening or in the future, that interactive software allows an interested party to indicate a desire when the time comes to ask a witness question, to present one's own witnesses, to testify oneself, or to give a closing statement or public comment. So, when I indicate that the time has come to begin one of those interested party stages, I will ask for participation from Zoomers. If one is video conferencing, one simply clicks on the icon at the bottom center of the Zoom screen labeled Participants, and from the options that then appear, click Raise Hand. We should see your raised hand here in the hearing room at our end. If one is remotely teleconferencing, in other words, not using video but on your cell phone, while remaining connected, hit the star or the asterisk symbol and then the Arabic numeral 9 on your phone. We should then also see any raised hands under that option as well. However, I won't be able to call on folks on a first raised, first come basis. So calling on the raised hands will probably be randomly referring to people to names, email addresses, or the last 4 digits of a phone number that appears on our display here in the hearing room. Also, written comments sent in advance of this hearing or any written material intended as something for the board to consider is subject to Board Rule Article 5, Section 12, that 8 copies be provided. Any communications received that do not comply with this requirement may not be considered by the board. I will now review the chronological progress of the hearing. I know that the narration that follows is really boring and it's really tedious, but please, reciting it's for everybody to help you feel comfortable and not worry that you will not have a fair and complete opportunity to participate, but at the same time to alert you when 3 distinct opportunity forms of participation will occur. First, the applicant has the burden of initially going forward. Accordingly, its agent or attorney may first make an opening remark or opening speech. Then, to set the stage, Ms. Henkel will be asked to take the witness stand first, and I will place her under oath or affirmation. Following her direct testimony, the state's attorney and members of the ZBA first, and then the petitioners, and then the interested parties, both on-site and remote, have the opportunity to cross-examine. And again, please, that is the time only for questions directed to her. After that, the applicant presents evidence, one witness or one document at a time. I will place each witness under oath or affirmation. At the conclusion of each applicant's witness's direct testimony, the state's attorney, then the zoning officer, then members of the ZBA, then finally interested parties, both on-site and remote, have the opportunity to cross-examine each one of those witnesses. Again, please, this is the time for only questions directed to the witness testifying. After the zoning officer and the applicant have presented their respective evidentiary matters, then interested parties may present evidence, one witness, including themselves, or document at a time. I will place each such witness under oath or affirmation. After each interested party witness, then the applicant, the state's attorney, the zoning officer, members of the ZBA, and other interested parties have the opportunity to cross-examine that witness. Finally, the applicant may offer rebuttal witnesses or documents one at a time. I will place each such witness under oath or affirmation, and the same questioning process ensues. If the applicant does present rebuttal witnesses, interested parties may present rebuttal witnesses in the courtroom. We call it surrebuttal, but rebuttal witnesses one at a time, and around the horn we go again. If the applicant does not present any rebuttal witnesses, interested parties are not in a position to present any further witnesses, and that will be the end of the evidentiary portion of the hearing. Finally, the applicant is given the initial opportunity for closing remarks, and then, as I've indicated, any interesting parties will be given the opportunity for the same, closing statements, public comments, speeches, whatever you prefer to call it. That's the phase during which interested parties may sum up the evidence that has been heard during the evidentiary stage, and based on those things, tell the zoning board what they think or has been or has not been proven, and how they feel about what the board ought to do. All of this is simply a process designed to give all a chance to be heard in a thorough but methodical fashion. There are some minor sub-rules after which I promise I'll be finished boring you. Each session has a time limit under the zoning board's rules of 2.5 hours. However, we certainly don't want to cut off anybody right in the middle of something, so I will certainly make a reasonable effort to let someone finish at a particular stage when the time limit has been reached, or if there's very little time remaining at the end of a stage, I may simply continue the session rather than starting on another phase. I also have, for everyone's benefit, the discretion to call for short recesses. Under the zoning board's rules, I have the duty to rule on the admissibility of evidence. While certainly the strict judicial rules of evidence do not apply, I may exercise some equitable control of what is being presented with or without an objection. We do, and we will continue to have a court reporter here taking down what is said during the proceedings. I ask everybody, be mindful of her job. She cannot take down two people talking at once. She can't take down nodding heads or gestures. And while I know she's very skilled, there is a limit to how fast a person can talk, including me, and expect her to keep up. I do ask, please, for civility and decorum. This is certainly a public forum, but please be respectful of all who consider it important enough to be here. I ask to refrain from displays of approval or disapproval. And as now with all public gatherings, I request that you either turn your cell phone off or at least put them on silent. And lastly, your zoning board of appeals, these fine, hardworking, practically volunteer gentlemen, act as finders of fact, much akin to a jury in a courtroom. In that role, their decisions during the last stage of the proceeding, their findings of fact and recommendations are based on the relevant provisions of the Lee County Ordinance and the state statute in light of the sworn testimony, admitted exhibits, and closing statements they received during the hearing process. They are your friends. They're your neighbors, your fellow citizens of the county. So please appreciate and respect their role as we move through the days and weeks ahead. I ask you not to put them in a compromised position by lobbying them or having extra hearing conversations or correspondence until the entire hearing, including their decisions, have been completed. In fact, they are instructed to avoid these appearances of impropriety by politely telling an interested party who might approach them something like, "I'm sorry, but I'm not allowed to discuss the matter until the ZBA's work of finding facts and making recommendations is completed." Thank you for your kind understanding in all these regards, and we will begin. Mr. Stantiford appears on behalf of the petitioners, and sir, would you like to make any opening remarks? Sure. It's absolutely your pleasure.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to speak into
Oh,
the
yeah.
mic.
I forgot that part. Sorry, I should have.
Nick Standiford.
Got to turn on the green. Yep.
My name is Nick Standiford. I'm a land use and zoning attorney at Shane Banks. My address is 70 West Madison, Chicago, Illinois. I'm pleased to be here tonight representing Mound Hill Road North Solar LLC and Mound Hill Road South Solar LLC for special use applications for commercial solar energy facilities here in Lee County. You'll hear tonight from Austin Schweer. He's the co-CEO of Sundial Energy. He's right behind me in this blue jacket. And he'll go through the application. He'll walk you through the exhibits that were attached to the application. He'll explain the project. and why they cited it why they'd like to cite it at this location. And you'll hear from Andy Galone, who's our civil engineer. He's a civil engineer at Civil and Environmental Consultants out of Naperville. There's Andy right there. Hopefully we'll get to him tonight, but if not, you'll hear from him in the coming days. And then lastly, we have Mike Maroos. He's a MAI licensed appraiser. He'll talk about the property value impacts. He's not here tonight, but you'll hear from him in the coming weeks. So we believe that these projects satisfy all the criteria under the Statewide Siting Act, under the Lee County Ordinance, and we ask for a recommendation to the county board in the positive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I am going to ask Ms. Hinkle at the point to take the stand. Please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Have a seat, please. And I'll help you get started. There's lots of questions I'd like to ask you, but I'll stick to the substance here. Would you state your name, please?
Alice Hinkle.
And your business or occupation, Ms. Henkel?
I'm the Lee County Zoning Administrator.
All right. And in that capacity, can you just generally describe what your duties are?
Enforcing the Lee County Code, overseeing building permits, zoning hearing applications.
A lot of the work would be keeping records and filing things that are given to you.
Correct.
With regard to this particular hearing, what entities filed petitions for special use?
Mound Hill Road North Solar LLC and Mound Hill Road South
And on what
Solar.
date were those petitions filed?
February 28th, 2025.
And how many copies of the petitions were filed?
12?
Was an electronic copy submitted?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of those petitions?
Yes.
Would you like to mark those and? Great, thank you. Very good. They're marked and they are admitted. These are accurate copies of what is filed in your office. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, they're admitted. Following the filing of those petitions, what notice or did you or others at your direction give of the filing of these petitions?
My office was responsible for the posting of the notice at the properties.
Okay, and who did that?
The zoning compliance officer, Jared Yater.
Okay. What else? What other postings did you make?
I posted it here on the third floor bulletin board outside of the chairman's office. And then I also posted it to the Lee County website.
All right. On what date or dates did you make those postings, please?
All of them were done on March 19, 2025.
The ordinance also requires, and I'm asking if you provided notices to district, is it 3 county board members, Lee County Health Department, Lee County Engineer, Lee County Highway Supervisor, Lee County Soil and Water Conservation District, Palmyra Township Supervisor, and the Palmyra Township Highway Commissioner. Did you give all them notice?
Yes, but it was District 1.
Okay, thank you. Other than the petition, the actual petitions which have been admitted, what else, if anything, did the petitioner file with your office?
The hearing application?
And that consisted of a large volume of pages, is that correct?
Yes.
Have you at least one copy of that?
Yes, over on my desk.
Okay. We'll take care of it, admitting that. Did the Lee County Soil and Water Conservation District make a report as to the ground upon which the proposed project would lay?
Yes, they did a natural resources information report for both petitions.
And did they file that with you?
Yes,
Okay, do you have a copy of that?
yes.
Let's mark that. Okay. Thank you. Those are marked ZO 3 and 4, and they're admitted. All right. Did the Lee County Planning Board consider these proposed project at one of their, at any point in time, once the petition was filed?
No, that is not part of Lee County's process.
Okay. And understanding that, do you have an opinion about what, if anything, this proposed development is in compliance or contrary to the objectives of that plan?
With regard to the Lee County Comprehensive Plan, it would be my opinion that since the state of Illinois has deemed that wind and solar are appropriate uses for both agriculturally and industrial zone properties, I would have to say that these projects comply with the county's comprehensive plan.
All right. Once our able court reporters reduce their notes to written form and review their work for accuracy sometime after each session and then provide you a transcript of the same, what will you do with that transcript?
I will post all transcripts to the Lee County website, and copies will also be available in my office for review.
All right. Since the original filing of the petition and the application, have the petitioners filed any other documents?
No.
How about within the last
Oh,
48
I
hours?
apologize. Yes. There have been updates submitted to my office.
Okay. And you've taken and filed those, is that correct?
Yes.
Any other documents pertaining to these projects are on file with your office at this point?
Yes. The report and supporting documentation from Palmyra Township. They held a public hearing before their planning commission, and then it was heard by their board as well.
All right. And do you have a copy of their report?
Yes.
And that's just one report marked.
Yep. I did it as one
Okay,
collective
great. As-
document.
Number 5 is, ZO number 5 is admitted. All right. Anything else to which you want to testify?
No.
Okay. Cross-examination, Mr. Standiford, any questions of Ms. Hinkle?
The notice that was done, the applicant mailed the notice, correct? You have copies of that as well?
Yes.
And the applicant had the publication notice published with the Dixon Telegraph, is that right?
Yes.
And Your Honor, would you like me to present those now or at a later juncture?
I thought you might do it with a witness.
That's what I'll do then.
Okay.
Thank you
great.
very much.
Further questions?
No, sir.
ZBA members, questions of Ms. Hinkle? Now's your chance.
No.
Okay. Ms. Sasser, questions?
I have none. Thank you.
All right. And interested parties, let's start with interested parties in the courtroom. If you'll raise your hand, if you got a question of Ms. Hinkle, I'll call on you. Seeing no hands raised, do we have anybody on Zoom, Jonathan? Okay. I have one person on Zoom. If you want to raise your hand, if you got a question of Ms. Hinkle, hard for me to turn around and look. Jonathan, you're going to have to tell me if. I'll give him a minute to find the right button. All right, seeing no hand raised, you may step down. Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to turn the production evidence over to you at this point, Mr. Stanford. Yeah, it's better up here on a couple levels.
Please state your name.
Austin Schwer.
Mr. Schwer, would you, Your Honor, would you like to swear in the witness now or? At a
Yes,
later
I certainly would.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Sorry
Mr.
about that.
No problem. Mr. Schwer, state your title, please.
Co-CEO Sundial Energy LLC.
And can I stop you for just a minute? Would you spell your last name both for me and the corp?
Yes, SCHWEER.
Thanks. Okay.
Sundial Energy, where's that located?
3363 Republic Avenue, St. Louis Park, Minnesota, 55426.
You said you're the co-CEO?
Correct.
What do those duties entail?
Overseeing the business in general, originations, development, all functions of operating the business.
Can you briefly describe your educational background before you became co-CEO of Sundial Energy?
Bachelor's of Business from the University of North Dakota.
Can you talk about the relationship between Sundial and the entities that are seeking a special use permit here tonight?
Yes, the Mount Hill Road South and North LLC entities are owned by Clean Capital Holdings LLC ultimately. Sundial Energy is developing the projects in partnership with Clean Capital. We're contracted to provide the development services up to building an electrical permit.
Would you slow down a little bit? What capital? Queen?
Clean?
Oh, Clean Capital.
Clean Capital.
Can you just describe that a little better or a little more? So what's exactly between Clean Capital and Sundial? Can you talk about that relationship?
Yes, Sundial Energy oversees the engineering parties and all of the application submittals and public hearings, and Clean Capital provides oversight and financing of that development. They typically ultimately own and operate the projects we develop.
And will Sundial or Clean Capital construct this project?
No, these projects are being sold.
And
to
how
a
does
third
that
party.
work?
We will market them to experienced and well-capitalized asset managers with knowledge and experience in the commercial solar energy facility space, and ultimately sell the legal entities that own the projects.
So, and then will those companies also operate the facility?
Yes,
And will those companies be required to comply with all the standards under the Lee County ordinance?
yes, they will.
So you submitted two special use applications in this case, correct?
Correct.
And can you briefly describe, let's start off by, can we shorten, you agree that we can kind of shorten the names of these entities? We'll call the one on the north side of the road, Mount Hill North, and the one on the south, Mount Hill South. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, so for Mount Hill North, let me step back. Where are these projects located?
They're both located south of Palmyra Township in the county of Lee, Illinois. They are west of Mound Hill Road. Mound Hill Road North is a 7 megawatt DC, 5 megawatt AC commercial solar energy facility. Mound Hill Road South is a 3 megawatt DC, 2 megawatt AC commercial solar energy
So
facility.
the south project is smaller than the north project?
Correct.
And you said that it's, the projects are to the south of Palmyra Township, that they're actually in the township, correct?
Correct, yes.
And we had a meeting with Palmyra Township, right?
Yes, we met with Palmyra Township Planning Commission on March 10th.
Why did we do that?
We were asked to by Lee County.
So we went to, when I say we, I mean the applicants went to Palmyra Township for a public meeting, correct?
Yes,
And at that public meeting, prior to that public meeting, the applicants gave notice of the public meeting, is that right?
that's correct.
And for that
I'm
notice.
sorry, Nick, I don't mean to interrupt, but the people on Zoom can't hear you if you're not talking in the mic.
I'm so sorry. Yes.
Sorry about that.
It's,
If I could stand up, that may be easier. So the applicants gave notice of that public meeting in Palmyra Township, is that right?
That's correct.
And your attorney prepared the notice of public meeting?
Yes.
And with that notice of public meeting, actually, let me do this, Your Honor. If I could seek to enter this into evidence, this is, will be Petitioner's Exhibit 1, if that's okay?
just call it Pet 1. That'd be great.
So let the record reflect, I'm handing the witness a copy of Pet 1.
Thank you.
Do you know what this document is?
Yes.
What is it?
It is the notice of public meeting that we sent out for the Palmyra Township Planning Commission.
Did the notice include anything with it?
It did. There was an addendum or an appendix that included a general site map of both projects and an illustration of their approximate location in Lee County.
And then what is behind that, that site plan? Or the slide, I should say, discussing the site maps and the projects?
The mailing to all of the people that were provided notice.
And when you say that all of the people, who are those people?
We provided notice to all of the properties within a quarter mile, and then we were also asked to provide additional notices to the subdivision to the west.
Your Honor, if I could hand out a copy of the notice for the zoning board member, if that's all right?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. So on page 2 is the, and let me give Your Honor a copy as well.
Sure, that'd be great.
May I approach?
Yep.
Thank you.
please. Very good. Very good, very good.
So on page 2, is that the slide, let's call it, that was included with the notice?
Correct.
And then you said this was sent to a variety of people, right? It was not only sent to the adjacent owners, it was also sent to everyone in the Northland Hills subdivision, correct?
That's correct.
And so you had and then you ultimately did have this meeting at the Plan Commission in Palmyra Township?
We did.
And how did it go?
We received feedback on the project that we were able to incorporate in subsequent revisions.
And you'll talk about those here tonight, the revisions?
Correct.
So you're saying that the site plan that's shown on page 2 of the notice, that's since changed?
That is correct.
Okay. And you'll talk about that here tonight?
I will.
Okay. So after the meeting in Palmyra Township, the board of Palmyra Township ultimately voted on recommending approval or denial of the project, correct?
They did.
And can you just summarize what the reasons why they suggested a denial of the project to the Lee County?
Ultimately, a letter of objection was written from Palmyra, primarily on the basis of aesthetics.
And because the view shed, the scenic views they thought would be affected by the solar farm, correct?
Correct.
You did have an appraiser at that hearing,
We did.
and he
Mike-
excuse me, go ahead.
Mike Maroos.
And he testified about property values?
He did.
So after the public meeting in Palmyra Township, we scheduled this hearing, correct?
Correct.
And prior to scheduling this hearing, we sent out a notice, right?
We did.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm going to hand the witness a copy of what's been previously marked as Petitioner Exhibit 2, Pet 2.
Done?
Let the record reflect I've handed the witness a copy of Pet 2. Can you, do you know what this document is?
This is a notice of public hearing provided for tonight's hearing.
And this contains the names of the projects, right?
It does, as well as a legal description of the parcels they're located on.
And then the notice, and what's on the second page of the notice?
Looks like the names of the property owners that were identified, as well as proof of mailing.
Your Honor, I'm going to hand out copies of the notice to the members of the zoning board as well as Your Honor.
Great.
If I may approach.
Is that the one marked 1? I can. No, it's marked 2. Right? I don't want to get, okay, great. That's all right. I don't need it. But thank you.
So there's fewer names on this notice list than on the Palmyra Township notice list, correct?
Yes.
And why is that?
For tonight's hearing, we provided notice in accordance with the ordinance, as opposed to with Palmyra Township, we provided approximately 80 additional notices, including those properties outside of the approximate distance that is required, but that were located within the subdivision.
There's some notations on page 2 of that exhibit. There's some colored schemes on there. What do those reflect?
Delivered, not delivered, and attempted delivery.
So every one but two were shown as delivered, correct?
That is correct.
And what are the two other ones?
John Hermes and Mark Hermes.
Okay. And these were sent via certified mail with return receipt requested, correct?
That's correct.
And the return receipts there's a copy of those as part of the notice package. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then, Your Honor, I'm going to have one more exhibit relating to notice, and then if I could admit all of them after that, seek to admit all of them, or if you'd like me to admit
Fine.
each as I
Yep,
go.
that's fine.
Okay. So let the record reflect, I'm handing the witness a document that's been previously marked as PET 3. After you've had a chance to look at the document, tell me when you're ready.
Ready.
Do you know what this document is?
Appears to be the certificate of publication of tonight's meeting's notice.
And where does it say the notice was published?
Dixon Telegraph.
Sure. Thank you.
And all these notices were sent at least 15 days prior to tonight's hearing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Your Honor, I'd like to seek to admit exhibits PET 1, 2, and 3.
Done.
Thank you. So, Mr. Schwer, you are responsible for filing a special use application for these entities. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And those special use applications are contained in these two large binders from CEC, correct?
That's correct.
And those are the engineer that you hired, CEC?
Yes, one of them.
So we have the north binder and then the south binder, right?
Correct.
All right. And may I approach with the
Yes.
binders? Thank you. I don't think we entered the additions into evidence.
I did on Alice's testimony, so.
You did or did
Done.
not?
I did.
Okay, great. So these are Lee County 1, or what are we calling these? 1 and 2?
They're still yours. They're yours.
Okay. So if we could call this PET, the north one PET 4 and the south one PET 5?
Okay, got it.
So can you go to the page that's the index? I think it's 3 or 4 there.
Yep.
You see where I'm at?
Table of contents.
The table
or
of contents,
appendix?
yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so there's a table of contents there, correct?
Yes.
And then there's a number of tabs that associate to each one of those items on the table of contents, correct?
Yes.
And so were you responsible for having those documents included in the application?
I was.
Did you include a facility summary in your applications for each of the projects?
Yes, we did.
Did you identify the name, address, phone number of the applicant, owner, and operator? And any documents demonstrating land control, legal control of the property?
Yes, we did.
So who is the owner?
The owners are Mark and John Hermes.
Do they own the property outright or in a trust or what?
Mark Hermes owns his property outright, and John's property is in a trust.
Which does Mark own and which does John own?
Mark owns Mount Hill Road South.
Okay, and the other?
John, the trust.
Okay. And then do you have a lease with these gentlemen?
Yes, we do.
And was that included in the application?
Yes, we included a recorded memorandum of our option to lease.
Okay, and that's an exhibit that's in one of the appendix items, correct?
That is correct. It is Appendix C.
Did you include a site plan with your application?
Yes, we did.
Okay, if we can go to that site plan now, can you tell me what appendix number that is?
Appendix B.
All right, so the appendix, so the site plan we're looking at in Appendix B. We talked about the site plan being modified, correct?
Yes, we did.
So the site plan that Sundial or the Mound Hill entities are now seeking to propose is different than the one that was included in the initial packet, right?
That's correct.
I don't know if we have the technical ability to show these for the interested parties, the site plans. That would be sure appreciated. Should get these out now. Yeah. So we're going to be handing out some, a proposed a group exhibit here. And if you could take a look and give one to Judge Slavin.
Thank you, sir. Let's give that a marking as well. I guess you're at 6.
Yes, sir. So are you familiar with this white binder that says Special Use Permit Revision 1 at the top, North Solar?
I am.
What is this binder?
This was a variety of submittal items we provided to Lee County yesterday.
And what's included in the letter of transmittal? What are the documents that are contained in this binder?
In addition to the letter of transmittal, we have a revised site plan, signed and sealed decommissioning report, our no permit required letter, SHPO clearance letter, a revised vegetation management plan, and a revised fire protection plan.
Do all the ZBA members have a copy of this? No? Thank you. You got the south as well? And so there's 2 of them, right? Because there's 2 projects?
That is correct.
All right. And
They both contain the same contents.
Your Honor, I'd now like to seek to admit these exhibits into evidence. I think it's petitioner 6 and 7.
Yeah, that's fine. So there are 2. They're not duplicative. They're 2 different.
They are unique to each project. Correct.
So in which one? Just so I keep it straight. We keep it straight.
So
Which one's 6 and which one's 7?
Mount Hill Road North will be 6
Okay.
and south will be 7.
So if we could flip to the site plan document in that,
Yes.
so are you familiar with this document?
Yes.
What is this?
This is the original site plan submitted.
Okay. And then do they have a copy of okay, I know what to do. Okay. So let's flip then to the binder.
To the original submission?
Actually, you know what? We should probably go through your PowerPoint,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Let's do that.
So, Your Honor, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit now that we have the applications and evidence. If we could go to the applicant's slide presentation, just to kind of go over a high-level overview of the projects, and then we'll kind of dive further into the ordinance requirements, if that's okay?
We don't have them in evidence yet, but they are certainly proffered, and I want everybody to have a chance to ask any questions. But yes, the answer is yes. Go ahead.
Those are admitted into evidence or not, the binder?
No, I want to give anybody else a chance to ask questions.
Okay,
about
very
it
good.
before
So, Mr. Schwer, so you prepared a PowerPoint presentation for tonight's hearing?
We did.
And can you go to slide 2? All right, so we talked about Sundial Energy and Clean Capital. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention of either of those entities here?
One additional item I would note is that we were both specifically focused on the community scale market. So developing projects of this size exactly is our primary focus. Both of our companies are focused on that market.
Next slide, please.
May I interrupt? Do you happen to have a hard copy of
Yeah, we
this?
do, Your Honor.
That would be helpful, I think, particularly to those of us who have our back turned to the. Thank you. And I'll mark that as pet number 8.
Thank you. So we talked a little bit about the location of these projects. Can you talk to me about what's going on in this slide?
Absolutely. In the upper left-hand image of this site, you can see a snapshot of the county of Lee, Illinois. In the upper left side of this is an approximate location of the Mound Hill Road solar projects. Included in this image are outlines of the approximate extraterritorial jurisdiction of the municipalities. With that,
So you are outside of any extraterritorial jurisdiction, correct?
that is correct.
You are outside of 1.5 miles from Dixon.
That is
municipal
correct.
limits and Sterling's,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
Okay, go ahead.
We also noted in here that the parcels are located in the southern Palmyra Township detailed planning area. Within that, they are zoned rural Ag 1, where commercial solar energy facilities are an allowed special use. This specific planning area also calls the future land use of this area as rural and agriculture, given its unlikely development of office, business, or residential. It also notes that Lee County's comprehensive plan encourages green energy.
So you read the Lee County's comprehensive plan revision date, May 18th, 2010.
Correct.
And what does that say about renewable energy in the comp plan?
It's promoted. It specifically calls out the growth of green energy jobs.
Okay, next slide. So then we thought it would be helpful to provide the differences in the two plans. One pre-Palmyra Township meeting and then post. And now, so the one on the left, please describe what that is.
That was the original site plan prepared and what was discussed at the Palmyra Township Planning Commission.
Okay, so we have the north project is shown and then the south project is shown just before that in the left side of this slide.
Correct.
And then talk about what's going on the right side of this slide.
Shows the revisions that we provided on both of the projects. On north, you could see that we moved it eastward by approximately a football field, 300 feet. And then on Mound Hill Road South, we moved the location of the project approximately 380 feet north and 600 feet east. This provided both additional room away from Mound Hill Road as well as allowed the natural topography to provide some visual screening.
And then for south, this parcel is actually, there's two parcels that the project would sit on under the original layout, correct?
Correct.
And in this case now, there's only a single parcel that the south project is on, is that right?
That is correct.
And can you just, so this was done to move the projects away from the non-participating occupied residents to the south, correct?
Correct.
And let's talk about to the north, maybe, I'm not sure if this is the best slide to do that, but what's north of this project?
There's agricultural land, and then one parcel north of that is a currently unoccupied property, residential property.
Okay. Okay, next slide, please. All right, and then we talked about the different sizes of the projects. Can you talk a little bit about, and I'll try not to be repetitive, but maybe go over some of these items if to the extent we're not going to cover them later on going over the ordinance.
I think most of these will be covered by the ordinance in general. We outlined some of the technology that we're using here, including an east-west single axis tracker. So the rows of panels will be running north-south, and they will track the sun from east to west. This slide also notes that the project is designed to participate in the Illinois Shines program, supporting the state's clean energy goals of achieving 100% renewable energy by 2050, and also that the project will use vegetative ground cover in accordance with the pollinator-friendly Solar Siting Act.
Okay, next slide. So what are the benefits of having a community-scale solar energy facility?
It's a variety of benefits. We outline a few of them on this slide, including the economic diversification, providing green energy jobs, construction and maintenance jobs. We expect to generate approximately 15 to 30 through these projects, also providing a diversified source of income for the landowners. It improves grid reliability as well as reducing energy burden. Essentially, the commercial solar energy facility will provide power to the grid that will be sold to subscribers, and those subscribers will receive bill credits, reducing their overall electricity bill. It also improves biodiversity with the pollinator-friendly plants, providing food and shelter for the pollinators, as well as The pollinators typically consume less water, so it can improve drainage and water conservation.
We could go back to slide 3, please. Thank you very much. So, can you tell the zoning board about why this site?
Yeah, so in general, our siting process is a lot about finding what you cannot build on, excluding parcels that are either in floodplains or wetlands or have other unbuildable characteristics such as terrain or unsuitable land. It also needs to have approximately at least 30 acres on it. So we're looking to be able to design a facility that can operate within the clearances and setbacks requirements of Lee County in the state of Illinois. From there, we're evaluating the electrical infrastructure in the area. So trying to locate these sites within proximity of areas having load, meaning energy demand. Typically, that indicates that there's large enough electrical infrastructure that would support connecting these projects. And one of the final prongs of siting a project is finding a willing landowner to sell or lease the land. And these particular sites met all of our criteria.
So did you mention that these need to be located relatively close to a substation?
Correct.
Where's the substation located in relation to these? You have 2 stars where it says Mound Hill Road North and South. Can you tell the zoning board generally where the substation that this power would feed into? Where's that located?
To the south and the west, just on the other side of the Lee County boundary in Whiteside County.
Okay, I think that's it for the slides. Thank you. So if we could now pivot over to the site plan, which is contained in the white binder that's with the revised plans. This is actually, that's the old plan right there on the screen. So if we could maybe take that off the screen and we could just look at the binders, that would be helpful. Or go to the electronic copy of the revised site plan. Thank you. Sorry about that.
You want some time? We can take a break now. I was going to take a break in a few minutes anyway. Let's
sir.
do it now.
Thank you.
About 10 minutes, 10 after.
Like asking questions.
Tim Crawford, since you're the junior member, would you hand out a copy of each one of they're all bound together. They're different ones. Just to give to each one of the 4 of you and then give the rest to Alice. She can. Thanks.
Hmm? Yeah.
You're gonna need it.
Brought my little pickup truck.
Magic. Alice can, she'll decide what to do with the rest of Yeah. Is that Judge Bales turning the lights on and off? Yeah. I think so.
Why is this?
What's that?
Everything okay, Cammy? Do you want copies of the exhibits? Okay. Did you hear me, Alice?
When it was the courthouse. Yeah, he was.
Let's roll.
Folks, let's get it back together. Sorry, we're a little late. Got jabbering. Unless you want more time, Mr. Sanford, then. Okay. No problem if you do.
Ready
You
to
may
go?
continue.
Thank you. So, Mr. Schwer, I believe we were talking about the site plans within the white binders, correct?
Correct.
And these are the revised site plans that were prepared?
They are.
So can you describe, so let's talk about let's talk about PET 6, which is the north project first.
Okay.
So can you please just walk us through some of the details that are in this site plan, such as the access road, the point of interconnection? Just give us an idea of what's happening at this property.
Absolutely. So starting from the west side and moving east, on the southwestern side of the site plan is identified the point of interconnection, where the project will be interconnecting with ComEd's grid. Also running from Mound Hill Road directly east and through the site is the access road, which will be 20 feet wide. Entering the site will be a swing gate with a knockbox to allow first responders access. In front of the fence on the west side facing the platted subdivision is a landscaping plan prepared by an Illinois registered landscape architect. You can see running in vertical lines north-south are the arrays of panels. So they're placed on rackers. Like I mentioned earlier, they track the sun east to west. Also is identified the length of the arrays, the separation between the rows of panels, as well as the 2 transformers for this site and the dispersed inverters throughout the site located adjacent to the access road. And surrounding the site is a perimeter fence, 7 feet tall, chain link, which will contain all of the required notices and safety warning signs as well.
Talk about the adjacent owners. Who owns the properties to the north, south, east, and west of this project?
Primarily relatives. The land on all sides of this project is currently agriculture.
And then can you identify the closest occupied residence to the north project?
Yeah, approximately 870 feet
In which direction?
to the north.
Thank you. And then if we could go to, let's go to the next sheet, which is C202. This is a
Would
zoomed.
you, can I interrupt? Just, I got behind my note taking. Nearest residence is how far?
Approximately 870 feet.
Thank you.
See, we'll go, we on C201? Go back to C201. So the platted subdivision to the west, you mentioned, correct?
Correct.
Do you know how far approximately that is away from the project?
Approximately 1,200 feet.
Thank you. So then if we could flip to the other binder, which is the south project,
Yes,
I assume that contains the same details as were set forth by the engineer on the north project?
that's correct.
Tell me about who owns the property to the south?
It's the AZ Hermes Trust.
And who owns the property to the south of that?
That is, looks like Book, Aaron and Michael Book. And there is, on the western side of that parcel is the Nick Hermes Trust.
And that's an occupied residence, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Do you know how far that property is away from the solar project?
Just under 900 feet.
Thank you. One of the next requirements in the ordinance after talking about the site plan is the decommissioning plan, correct?
Correct.
And in these white binders is a revised decommissioning plan, is that right?
That is correct. The only revision made was to provide a sign and stamp from a professional engineer.
So the original application did have a decommissioning plan in it,
It did.
but it was not signed by the engineer?
Correct.
But this version does have that signature by
It
the
does.
engineer.
Yes.
And what is the decommissioning cost for the north project and the decommissioning cost for the south project?
The North project is approximately $870,000, and the South project is approximately $658,000.
The next requirement in the ordinance is to have studies, reports, certifications, and approvals demonstrating compliance with the provisions of this ordinance. We looked at these appendices in the original applications as well as these revised applications, correct?
Correct.
And they contain a number of different studies and reports.
That's correct.
And those studies and reports relate to the standards in the ordinance,
Yes,
correct?
they do.
One of those reports was, the next requirement of the ordinance is an agricultural impact mitigation agreement. Is that right?
That's correct.
And what is that?
That outlines our responsibility to adhere to preservation of the land during construction, management of drain tile, and any impacts thereto, as well as the decommissioning and removal of the system.
Is that signed with the State of Illinois Department of Agriculture?
That's correct.
And that was included as Appendix E in the application, which is that the bound copy of the applications, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. The next requirement of the ordinance is to have a topographic map prepared. Did you have a topographic map prepared for this matter?
Yes, we did.
And what did that, can you talk generally about what that, the topography of the sites indicated?
Yeah, typically the elevation is lowest on the western end towards Mound Hill, increasing in elevation as the land moves to the east, and then generally gently sloping down in elevation as it continues further east.
So if you look in the ring binder, I'll call it, or the bound binder, that's at appendix.
C202? Oh,
There, but it's also appendix F, right? That's the topography.
correct.
And then it's also on these, in these smaller binders for the revised plan set. You have some sort of this engineer put some sort of a rendering of the elevation, correct? On the bottom part of C202?
That's correct.
And describe what is that?
This is general view shed line at 6 feet above elevation. It identified a particular point. In the case of Mount Hill Road North, it was a public access road within the subdivision to the west, and it provides a general depiction of the elevation as one person would look from west to east over the project. It identifies the possible impediments to view shed.
So the elevation then is higher where the project is than the subdivision to the west?
That's correct.
And what is the effect of that?
So the proposed fence and landscaping in front of that is blocking the first several rows from view shed. There are maybe a dozen or so rows of panels that would be in view from that particular location. And then the project, as it moves further east and gently slopes down in elevation, are no longer in view.
So after the Palmyra Township Board meeting, you decided to move the panels east in order to bring them on higher elevation so they wouldn't be as visible. Is that right?
Correct.
So in addition to a topographic map, the ordinance requires a stormwater management plan. Is that right?
Correct.
And is it true that a stormwater management plan is being prepared as we speak, or what's the status of that?
Yes, it's in preparation. It will be provided prior to the building permit.
So then generally with solar, talk about stormwater management. Do these solar farms, are they better for drainage or worse?
Our project is designed with pollinator-friendly habitat, which generally improves drainage.
Why is that?
Because they have deep roots that allow that those plants consume the water and generally don't allow it to continue moving off the property.
The next requirement in the ordinance is there waivers from setback requirements from non-participating property owners. Do you have any waivers?
We are not requesting any waivers.
The next requirement in the ordinance is to have an EcoCat, is I think the short term for it, correct?
Correct.
EcoCat, ECOCAT report. What is that?
Generally evaluating any ecological impacts from the project. The study was terminated as it was determined that there was no impact.
All right, so the EcoCat was included in the initial application as Appendix H, correct?
That is correct.
So when you say the report was terminated, what does that mean?
That's a term to say that there's no further study required.
So there were no endangered species at this property?
Correct.
The next requirement in the ordinance is to have this, I think the short form for this is called an IPAC, IPAC. It's a planning and consulting environmental review from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did the applicant provide reports for each of these projects from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife?
Yes, we did.
What do those reports indicate?
That there's no impact to threatened and endangered species on this property, given that there's no suitable habitat.
So that report, that was found in the big binder, correct?
That is correct.
And that is at Appendix I?
This is still Appendix H.
Okay. Were there any animals or anything like that the report did call out?
There are 4 animals or species, both between animals and plants, that were identified. Only 2 of them had threatened and endangered status, and both of those were found to not have suitable habitat on the parcels,
What does that mean, not have suitable habitat?
meaning that it would be unlikely that we find them. One of them, for example, was a bat typically found in trees. There are no trees on this property.
Okay. The next requirement of the ordinance is to demonstrate that the facility avoids protected lands. How did you do that? Did you obtain a report from the State Historic Preservation Office?
We did. We received a clearance from the State Historic Preservation Office, given that there are no listed historic properties in the area and no reason to pursue archaeological studies.
And that was at Appendix J of the smaller binder with the revised copy, correct?
That sounds correct.
That's short form for that is SHPO, right?
Yes.
Thank you. So let's talk now about the ordinance's requirements regarding design and installation. So is this project going to have new panels?
Yes. Panels will be UL listed as well. We're using bifacial monocrystalline panels.
Can you say that again slower, please?
Yes. We are using bifacial monocrystalline panels. It will be UL listed. They have 2 millimeters of anti-reflective coating on the glass, and the cells are made of silicon, which is a non-hazardous or toxic material.
Will you have after the siting approval, if it's so granted, would you have a structural engineer certify that the facility is within accepted professional standards given the soil, subsurface, and climate conditions?
Correct. We will.
So let's talk about the electrical components. Well, actually, let's go back to the panels. Have you sourced those yet? You know the exact model you're going to use?
No,
site?
we designed these with our typical panels.
So when is
The ultimate owner will make that final selection.
So will the electrical components of the panels conform to local, state, and national codes and relevant national and international standards?
Yes, they will.
What about the height? The ordinance says the panels can't be more than 20 feet at full tilt. How tall are the proposed panels here?
Approximately 10 to 12 feet. In no event will they exceed 20.
So when we're talking about height, that's just the panels, right?
Correct, yes.
There-
And then all of the electrical components or electrical wires and communication wires are designed to be underground in accordance with the AMA. Outside of the perimeter fence near the road and the point of interconnection, we are required by ComEd to provide 5 utility poles. They'll match the approximate height of the surrounding utility poles as well, and that will exceed 20 feet.
5 utility poles for each project or 5 total for both projects?
5 for each project.
Okay, and do you know generally where those are going to be located on each of the site plans?
They are identified on the site plans. And they are identified both as customer-owned equipment and ComEd power poles.
And you don't have any ability to control ComEd to remove those power poles, right? They're necessary for the operation of the solar farm.
Correct.
Okay, let's talk about aesthetics and lighting. The ordinance requires that to minimize the visual impacts of the facility on non-participating residences from a single-story dwelling viewpoint located within a quarter mile of any component, screening shall be provided, right?
Correct.
So with respect to screening, you're supposed to screen from platted subdivisions as well.
That is correct, and we have done so.
All right, do you have a vegetation plan? Is that right?
We do have a landscaping plan on both of these projects on the site plan.
So which page should we go to on the site plan? C201, perhaps?
C200
Okay.
for the site plan,
And
The-
describe which project you're talking about.
Mound Hill Road North.
Okay, and then could you describe to the zoning board where the landscaping is proposed in this case?
Yeah, immediately adjacent on the west side of the perimeter fence. There's a variety of native trees and shrubs outlined and their quantities planted at a range between 5 and 8 feet. In no event will they be less than 8 feet by their 4th year. If they are, we will replace them.
That's to help screen the platted subdivision to the west,
That is
correct?
correct.
And then for the south project, can you talk about the screening there?
Yes, the Lee County ordinance prescribes 2 options to non-participating residences. We have contacted both of the property owners to at least note that they have the option of electing to have us design and install, maintain, or provide a payment for them to, at their discretion, design, install, maintain, and remove vegetative or visual screening option, or if they do not elect that, there's an option for us to provide visual screening on the project site.
So you can screen or you could pay them to put their own screen in essentially.
They can elect to install their screen if they choose with that money.
Okay. And neither owner has made that election yet, correct?
Correct. We will do so prior to the building permit.
Thank you. The landscape plan, was that prepared by a registered landscape architect?
It was.
And who was that? Which
CE
firm was that?
CEC,
Do they have a registered landscape architect on staff who reviewed the plan and approved it?
yes.
So let's talk about the standards for a visual screen. So this is a vegetative screen. It's not opaque fencing, correct?
Correct.
And how tall are these trees going to be when you plant them?
Ranging between 5 and 8 feet.
And is the applicant responsible for maintaining those trees through the life of the project?
Yes, we are and we will.
Is the applicant committed to installing those as early as possible in the construction phase of the process?
We do.
Let's talk about lighting, which is the next requirement of the ordinance. Are you proposing any lighting for these solar farms?
We are not proposing any lighting.
We skipped ahead on inter-project power and communication lines. We talked about the poles that ComEd needs, correct?
Correct.
We talked about everything else is going to be buried, correct?
We have designed the project to have all of the inter-project power and communication lines be buried.
Is it possible that the ultimate owner of the project would install a cable management system that's not buried?
Correct, and we would just note the county's preference for underground.
Okay, and what is a cable management system?
It's a system that manages the cables above ground safely.
Fencing is the next requirement of the ordinance. How tall is the proposed fence?
7 feet,
And what is it proposed to be made out of?
chain link.
Is it required to have a fence as part of the National Electric Code for these solar farms?
Yes.
Have you talked to any of the non-participating residents about having an 8-foot high woven wire fence rather than the chain link fence?
They're not immediate adjacent non-participating residents to either project.
But would you reach out to them about a woven wire fence if they so requested it?
That is an option in the visual screen.
Are you going to put warning signs on the fence?
Yes, we will put all required warning signs
And
and
when I-
safety.
And when I say you, I'm sorry, I mean the project applicants.
Correct.
Thank you. If we can talk about setbacks a little bit specifically.
Mhm.
I'm not sure where the best place to do this is, which sheet.
Maybe start with north.
Sure. So the North project, talk about the different, I think you talked a little bit about the setbacks from the neighbors. Are there any occupied community buildings within 150 feet of the nearest point of the outside wall of the structure?
No, we've identified the nearest at just over 3,000 feet.
And could you state again the distance from the non-participating residence to the nearest point of the outside wall of the structure?
Yeah, just over 870 feet.
And the code is that the minimum setback is 150, right?
That is correct.
And how far are you from the public right-of-way on Mount Hill Road?
Just over 450 feet.
You aren't requesting any waivers from the setbacks, is that right?
That is correct.
Let's talk about the use of Mount Hill Road. When we were in Palmyra Township, one of the issues that the township had is that they were worried about damage to the road. Is that right?
Correct.
But isn't it true that the applicant also offered and is required by the ordinance to have a road use agreement with the road jurisdiction?
Yes.
And
we will.
who is the road jurisdiction in this case?
Palmyra Township.
And will the applicant enter into a road use agreement with Palmyra Township no less than 30 days before the building permit is issued?
Yes, we will, and it will contain all of the required provisions outlined in the county ordinance.
Which is section 9B of the county ordinance, correct? Those are the requirements?
That is correct.
Let's talk about the site assessment, number 10 of the county ordinance. Have you done any soil geotechnical boring reports?
We have not received the reports. We have performed the field work within the last week.
And what is that, has that indicated? Do you have any results from that
We don't
field
have
work
any
yet?
results yet. We will provide those results prior to the building permit.
Okay. Noise levels. Do the solar farm, have you conducted any studies relating to noise for these solar farms?
Yes, we had Krebs and Lansing provide a noise study for these projects, the result of which was that the max noise level at either of the parcel boundaries was just over 40 decibels, which is in compliance with the Illinois Pollution Control Board standards. It's approximately the noise level of an air conditioner.
We talked about agricultural impact mitigation. That's the requirement in the ordinance. As-built plans and map. Will an as-built be prepared by probably CEC once the project, well, hopefully it's CEC so you can maintain the business, but after the project is completed?
Yes,
And that will be provided to the county?
yes,
And an engineer will certify the specific soils and subsurface conditions at the site can support the racking and the panels?
yes, it will.
Let's talk about outdoor storage of materials. Is there a laydown site that these projects will rely upon when construction occurs?
Yes, there is a proposed temporary laydown area on the western side of both of the parcels. This is the approximate loading and unloading zone during the construction phase. Outdoor storage would be handled within that temporary laydown yard or within the project site.
One of the requirements in the application is to describe a phasing plan and a construction timeline. What is the construction timeline or phasing plan if this project is approved for special use?
We would intend to construct the project in one single phase, lasting approximately 3 to 6 months.
And at that point in time, that's the time in which the most of the traffic will be at the site, correct?
Correct. There will be very little traffic after that during the operation of the project.
When the construction is ongoing, does the applicant agree to commence construction only within permitted construction hours under the ordinance?
Yes, we do.
One of the requirements in the ordinance is that the Illinois professional engineer stamp stamp all technical submissions. Has the engineer now done that?
They have.
The applicant agrees that the county can obtain a code enforcement officer or qualified inspector to inspect the project. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the applicant agrees that they'll pay the cost for that inspection?
Correct. And we will.
The applicant agrees that it'll provide an executed road use agreement between the applicant and the Palmyra Township Highway Road District within 30 days prior to the issuance of a building permit. Is that right?
That is correct.
Let's talk about the operation of a solar farm after it's constructed. The ordinance requires the applicant to every year submit an annual report. Does the applicant committed to that?
Yes.
Is the applicant committed to, if there's any modifications to the solar farm, does the applicant commit to that any alterations to the mechanical load path, or major electrical components be recertified?
Yes.
Let's talk about local coordination with local responders. Has that been done in this case?
We included in our original submission an emergency operations plan.
Okay. And then with respect to the revised submission, is there any detail about, I see there's a Appendix O is the revised fire protection plan. What is that?
Correct. We incorporated the requirement of annual training,
What is annual training? What do you mean by that?
where we provide local support to first responders.
The next requirement in the ordinance is about water, sewer, materials handling, storage, and disposal. There's no solid waste that's going to be produced by the projects.
Possibly minimal solid waste during construction, which would be disposed of in the rules and regulations existing.
Will there be any hazardous materials relating to construction, operation, or maintenance of the facility?
No, there will not be.
How does the facility affect any existing septic or wells?
Does not.
The applicant agrees to provide 2 points of contact once the solar farms and keep it current.
Yes,
So that's so that if there's any issues with the solar farm, the county can contact those folks. Is that right?
that is right.
Is there going to be any signage other than warning signs for these projects?
We need to provide a 911 address, and we will have all other ANSI and NEC code requirement and other signage.
The final requirement in this section is drainage systems. Will the applicant perform a drain tile study for this property?
Yes, we will.
And what happens if a drain tile is impacted by construction or operation of the solar farm?
We will repair in accordance with the agricultural impact mitigation agreement.
The next larger section of the ordinance talks about liability insurance and indemnification. Does the applicant agree to maintain the insurance required under the ordinance?
Yes.
The applicant agrees to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless Lee County from any claims, demands, losses, suits, causes of action, damages, injuries, costs, expenses, and liabilities whatsoever.
Yes.
Except for those acts of negligence or intentional acts of such indemnified parties. Is that
Correct.
right? Okay,
Yes.
that second part was important. You talked about the decommissioning costs for the project, correct?
Yeah, approximately 658,000 for north and 321,000 for south.
Do you have to post any financial assurances to ensure that the site is properly decommissioned if let's say these entities go belly up?
Yeah, we will provide any financial assurances required.
You agree that the county can revoke these special uses if these conditions aren't complied with?
Yes, we understand that.
The applicant paid all required fees.
Yes, we did.
Let's talk about the hearing factors. This is at page 19 of the ordinance. The first hearing factor is that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the commercial solar energy facility will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. Are these panels hazardous or toxic?
The materials are not hazardous or toxic. The drainage will generally be improved, as we discussed, with a pollinator vegetation management, and that also allows the soil to take a rest, regenerative.
The next standard is that the commercial solar energy will not be injurious to the uses and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values of surrounding property. What is your response to that?
We have a perimeter fence providing security to the site. We also will have Mike Maroos provide testimony on the property values, noting that they will not be affected based on his research.
The next standard is that the establishment of the commercial solar energy will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding properties. What is your response to that?
At the end of the project, it will be decommissioned and removed. It's also noted that in this particular area, rural residential development is not encouraged.
The next standard is adequate public utilities, access roads, drainage, and/or necessary facilities have been or will be provided. Does the solar farm require does it require any facilities to be provided other than connecting to the electric grid?
No, and we improve the electrical infrastructure in the area,
How is that?
providing different safety factors and that ensure a safe interconnection with the ComEd grid.
Will you improve the electrical facilities at the point of interconnection?
Yes,
Talk about the next standard is adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets.
correct. Note, there will be very limited traffic after construction is complete, and we will comply with the road use agreement.
The next standard is the proposed commercial solar energy facility is not contrary to the objectives of the current comprehensive plan of the county.
Correct. We believe it is in line with the comprehensive plan of the county as discussed.
The commercial solar energy facility shall, in all other respects, conform to the applicable regulations of this ordinance and the zoning district in which it is located, except as such regulations may in each instance be modified pursuant to the recommendations of and approved by the county board. Does this project conform?
Yes.
Okay, so those are the standards under the ordinance. There's also, the county also has performance factors, is that right?
That is correct.
And are you aware of what those performance factors are?
Yes.
What are they?
All of them?
Yes.
Do you have them in front of you by chance?
Well, let's not ask him questions. If you don't know, just say, I don't know.
I don't know all of them by memory.
The first performance standard is exterior lighting,
We are not proposing any lighting as part of this project.
noise,
As discussed, the noise is within the Illinois Pollution Control Board standards.
air pollution,
The project will not emit any air pollution.
and those performance standards also accept construction activities, correct?
They do not apply to construction activities.
So the air pollution, let's say like a truck running outside during construction, that's permitted under the performance standards, correct?
Correct.
Odor, is there any odor from these solar farms?
There will not be any odor emitted during the operation.
Electromagnetic radiation,
These projects do not generate or emit electromagnetic radiation. The DC wires are buried underground and also encased. The AC wires also do not generate an electromagnetic radiation field. The utility lines going above ground are built to utility grade and do not emit any electromagnetic radiation, and the inverters and all other components are FCC compliant.
is there glare and heat from these panels?
No, there's not.
And you talked about the anti-glare coating, what is that?
That's a coating on the panels to reduce any potential glare.
And the landscape screening that's being provided off Mount Hill Road, that'll help with any affecting glare or anything like that, correct?
Correct.
Fire and explosion, will these catch on fire or explode?
No,
Why is that?
there's very little risk of any fire, any explosive material in the project.
I think that's all my questions for this witness.
All right, very good. Well, I'll start out. I have a few and then we'll go from there. You testified that the nearest residence was 870 feet away. When you look at the site plan, can you, either site plan, I don't care, just tell me which one you're looking at. Which one is that residence, 870 feet away?
So the residence approximately 870 feet away is Mount Hill Road North. They're directly north on Mount Hill Road. And then on,
Is that an, what would be a rectangle with a little bump out in it? Is that what,
I think that's a fair description.
but it's not labeled as a residence? Right? It's just an outline of a property.
That is correct.
So to the north project, it is north and just a little bit west.
Correct.
Yeah. You talked about cable management system and I didn't follow. At first you said the lines would be buried and then you said, I think is it correct? You first said they'd be buried and then you said it would be up to the owner operator of the project, whether they be buried or use the cable management system.
Both are correct. I did say it is at the discretion of the new owner. We have designed the site with underground wires, and you can identify that with, on the site plan, there's UGE dictate, which is illustrating the path of those underground electrical wires.
All right. The soil boring reports, are they certified?
We have not received them yet, but they will be.
Oh, during construction, can you estimate, and I know it's only an estimation, but estimate the volume of traffic during construction and the kind of traffic, semis, flatbeds, how many a day?
Yeah, generally. So we would estimate that over the course of construction in that 3 to 6 month period, there'd be probably not more than 75 semi trucks going onto site. Majority of them would be coming at the beginning of construction, say 1 to 15 semis per week. And then there would be daily vehicle traffic for personal and contractor vehicles as well, and call it 15 to 30
How
of
many
those
would you,
approximately.
I'm sorry, I interrupted. How many?
Of the approximately 15 to 30 in total between the personal and contractor vehicles
Per week,
per construction day.
per day?
1 to 15 semi trucks per week.
Does the sound study bear a engineer's certification?
The sound study does not. That is not a required submittal item. That was an item that we elected to provide.
During construction, wouldn't there be human waste at the site, the construction site?
I would assume
And
so.
how do you? what's
We
the
would
plan
have
to
portable
dispose?
lavatories on site.
Porta potties, we call them.
Yes, that's fair.
And you would hire someone that's licensed to do that?
Yes, we would.
Do you, on behalf of the petitioners, commit to be bound by any and all proposals, promises, statements, and representations in your applications, including the revisions for a special use permit or made under oath during this hearing, even if not expressly specified herein or stated in your written material?
Yes.
Oh, I know. Would you kindly, for interested parties, explain more particularly how a community solar development project works?
Yeah, generally. So the project will be connected to the distribution grid, ComEd's infrastructure. Distribution meaning the electrical lines that run to local homes and businesses. That power is ultimately sent to the grid. It's used generally in the vicinity or as the load dictates. The way the community solar system makes money is that it sells that energy to subscribers. One subscriber can't exceed 40% of the overall project. We're typically looking for or prioritizing local residents to subscribe to that. And then we, as part of that subscription, would provide a bill credit on their monthly ComEd electrical bill that would offer a discount on the electricity that they purchase.
Okay. You- What would be the maximum tilt? You've explained at the height. What's the tilt of you
Approximately 55 degrees is what we have designed with.
from above ground, above level ground?
Approximately 4.5 feet above level ground. And
No,
then
but the
max-
55 degrees is measured from level. ground.
Oh, correct, yes.
And what's the useful life of this project?
Approximately 35 years.
What's the term for the leases that were executed?
We have an option to lease agreement and then would execute a lease agreement.
I know, but what's the term, the time period term?
Oh, it's an initial 30-year term with 2 5-year extensions that are at the tenant's sole discretion.
As to the supports for the panels, first of all, how deeply would they be driven into the ground?
Approximately 8 to 12 feet deeper around the perimeter.
And how, I use the word driven, but how are they placed into 8 to 12 feet?
Yeah, it could be either pile driven or it could be in a like helical structure augered in.
Is there any speaking of those support pilings, is there any artificial support for them below ground, cement base?
There will not be a cement
Rocker.
base under there, no.
The ordinance uses the term public access. Even I'm not sure what that means. Is there any access road into your development that's public?
Not into our development. No, I wouldn't think so.
You show an access road on the site plan, and there's a little arrow pointing up. Now let's turn to the site.
Which one would you like to look at?
Small. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I've got North Solar, the most expansive one. If you find the access road coming off Mount Hill Road,
Mhm.
you find that. And the first curve that takes, there's a little balloon that says begin proposed 16 feet wide access road. See where it says that?
Yep.
Is that truly the beginning?
It's 20 feet before that and 16 feet throughout the site.
Does that access road already exist? Or
That
it's-
is proposed, that would be new.
Okay, all right. So it's 20 feet up to that point
Correct.
wide, and okay. And what's its base?
We'll remove the topsoil and lay a geotextile fabric and then class 5 aggregate on top of that.
How many inches of aggregate?
Would defer to our civil engineer,
What'd you call the fabric? I know you.
geotextile.
Alrighty. Will there be any operation and maintenance building?
There will not be any operation and maintenance buildings.
Are there any third-party transmission lines already running across either of these project areas?
I don't believe so. We're focused just on the distribution lines. And there is not a substation proposed as part of this project.
Right. You said that. ComEd utility poles, what the support poles that you said they require 5 each project, what are they, what material are they made of?
Think your typical like wood utility pole.
Telephone.
Yeah.
We call them telephone poles in
Yeah.
vernacular. And about how high are they?
They'd match the approximate height in the air, which I think is about 30 feet. They could be up to 50 feet.
How are those poles supported?
We would drill a hole, auger a hole out, and they would be placed inside of there.
There be any artificial support below that?
I don't believe so.
And the AMA specifies the depth at which the power lines are placed, right?
Correct. We'll comply with that.
You remember what it is?
It's,
Don't say if you don't. Have you submitted a site plan, standard operating procedure plan, or standard operating procedures and standard operating guidelines for the development to local emergency responders?
I would defer that question to our civil engineer as well.
I'm going to expand on the question Mr. Stanford asked. He expanded on it a little bit. On behalf of the petitioners, do you explicitly promise to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless the County of Lee and its officers, appointed and elected officials, employees, attorneys, engineers, and agents, commonly known as the indemnified parties, from and against any and all claims, demands, losses, suits, causes of action, damages, injuries, costs, expenses, and liability whatsoever, including reasonable attorney's fees relating to or arising out of the issuance of the special use permit or the construction, operation, and maintenance and removal of the commercial energy facility, including, without limitation, liability for property damage or personal injury, including death or illness, whether said liability is premised on contract or in tort, including, without limitation, strict liability or negligence, or any acts or omissions of the applicant, the owner, and the operator under this section or the special use, except to the extent any such claims, demands, losses, suits, causes of action, damages, injuries, costs, expenses, and liabilities arise from the negligence or intentional acts of such indemnified party.
Yes.
The other than during construction. Well, actually, the ordinance does not say construction. So would the construction or operation of this facility produce heat of a temperature sufficient to be discernible at its outer bound?
No, the typical heat would, the panels may be hot, like a black car sitting in the sun, not at the perimeter fence.
Would the construction or operation of this project involve the use of any materials which could decompose by detonation?
Defer that to our engineer.
Would the construction or operation of this proposed facility involve any of the following that are subject to Illinois statutes? Microorganism cultures, pesticides, biological products, excuse me, hazardous substances, toxic substances, infectious agents, any material requiring notification to a local fire department, or any other uses, activities, or materials which are subject to county, state, or federal hazardous or related materials regulations.
No, not to my knowledge.
What's the present character of the land upon which these projects are being built?
Agriculture,
Row crop?
yes. And the projects will only take a portion of the parcel. The remaining parcels could, in theory, continue to be used for that row crop.
Okay. Just check my laundry list. Are there any occupied community buildings within the project perimeter?
No.
All right, thank you. Questions from others? Ms. Sasser, you first. I'll go around the horn.
I have no additional questions. Thank you.
Ms. Henkel?
During construction, where will the contracted workers be parking?
They'd be parking off of Mound Hill Road on the project site or in the temporary laydown area.
Will any parking take place along Mount Hill Road?
Not without a written waiver consent.
Will there be a contractor's trailer on site during construction?
Possibly.
In your testimony, you were asked about decommissioning and the cost. You cited two different figures at different points of your testimony. The first time you said for Mount Hill Road South that the cost would be in the 400,000 range, and for the north, it would be in the 800,000 range. Later, you testified that the cost for the south project was going to be in the 300,000 range, and for the north project in the 600,000 range. Can you explain the discrepancy?
Yeah, thank you. So for Mound Hill Road North, we expect the total demolition minus salvage to be $658,000. And then for Mound Hill Road South, we expect the total demolition minus salvage to be $321,000.
I have no further questions.
ZBA, starting with Mr. Forster.
No questions.
Mr. Burrow.
Yes, Mr. Swerd, couple. You talking about the company, Clean Capital Company is the owner of the whole project?
Correct. They own the LLCs
Okay.
for the projects.
Where are they based out of then?
New York City, New York,
Okay. How long have they been in business?
approximately 10 years.
Okay. Are these, you mentioned a substation. Is this a hooked to a three-phase line on Mount Hill Road or not?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is there going to be any batteries storage?
No energy storage in this project.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Phelan?
I have no questions.
Crawford?
You had originally said on the fencing to be a chain link fence, and then we talked about a woven wire type fence. Is that something in the final decision that the people living in that area can help make a decision on that since they're the ones looking at it?
Yes.
So how would you approach that?
The county ordinance provides a variety of visual screening options. One of them is opaque fencing, could be available. and the way that we provide that, it's prescribed that we prepare a landscaping plan, design, installation, maintenance, and removal. We provide a cost estimate. Based on that, we cannot make that offer to a non-participating landowner in the area. And they would have, if they elect to receive that payment, it would be at their discretion to proceed with installing a visual screen. Alternatively, we would install a visual screen on the project parcel.
No other questions?
Just thought one more question. The house, the nearest house is 870 feet away. Is that a participating or non-participating?
Non-participating.
All right, turning to interested parties. Now's your chance to ask any questions. Before I ask for anybody that wants to ask questions, I'm going to say this. There was a very last minute revision to the application, and understanding that you folks wouldn't have, any interested parties would not have a chance to review that before tonight. If anybody wants to wait to ask questions to the next session, to ask questions of this gentleman, please let me know. So if you want to wait to ask questions so you can review that stuff, please let me know. So is there anybody who wants to wait? Okay, I see one hand. All right, as long as we've got one hand, and that's fair enough. I think it's only fair. Well, please, as long as we've got one person, how about the person on Zoom? Person on Zoom, do you have any questions of this witness, or would you like to wait? If no response, I'll take it as a neither. Are you making any? All right, because there's a couple folks that want to wait, we will then continue the cross-examination of this gentleman until the next session, which brings up the next discussion. The first thing, we took preliminary polls of the necessaries, that's the necessary part. And the following dates are available. At least at that time, they were available by the way, they're available for further session. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to use them, but they're available. April 10th, April 14th, April 15th, April 16th, April 22nd, April 23rd, April 28th, and the last day of April, the 30th. Don't think we'll need that many, but those are available. Now, turning to the next available session date, it is April 10th. Are you, is the courtroom still available, of which you're aware of?
Yes.
Okay, Forster, are you available?
No.
Burrow?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Do you know if Mr. Hummel's available?
Mr. Hummel will not be available for the remainder of the month.
So I got 1, 2, 3 yeses. Right? From the PBA. Are you available still, Ms. Hinkle,
Yes.
Ms. Sasser,
I can make myself available, yes.
you, Mr. Standiford, and when I say you, who's your entourage?
Yes, sir. The only gentleman who's not available is Bruce.
And as far as we know, there'll be a court report available, right? Ms. Hinkle?
Yes.
Jonathan, your department available? Okay, so the next date is April 10th. Now, for the discussion that, for the elephant in the room, Gents, how do you feel about starting at 6? I got one thumbs up. That's all right. How do the rest of you feel? Seriously.
Yeah, that's fine.
Huh?
It's fine with me.
Sometimes I think you want to, and sometimes I think you don't. Gotta let me know. I mean, you guys are the ones. You're the jury.
You all right at 6?
Your Honor, if we start at 6, I may be able to get through.
You know, it's still a 2.5 hours.
Oh, yes.
Still, that's the reason. Yeah. Well, okay. 6:37. We'll go by seniority, of course.
I'm not gonna be
I'm
here.
not gonna be here.
Okay, so you don't care. Bro,
6:30.
6:30.
6:30.
all right, 6:30. And we'll see about the other nights as we go along. That's a fair count. The other dates, did you write them down so you can check on them? Because we're gonna be going through this. You know what? Let's go one more day. Monday, April 14th. Welcome as far as you know. Ms. Hinkle?
Is the 14th a Monday?
No.
It is.
Oh. Okay. Yes.
You in an alternative universe or a different?
Yep.
Okay, I'm the 14th, Monday the 14th. You, Mr. Forster?
Yes.
Mr. Burrow?
No.
Phelan?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Ms. Hinkle, you personally?
Yes.
Ms. Sasser?
Yes.
Mr. Standiford et al.
Yes, sir.
We're pretty sure court reporter is available then, right?
Yeah. Yes.
IT, Jonathan, okay. All right, so for sure, I'm recessing until next Thursday, week from today, April 10th at 6:30, beginning at 6:30. We'll start up with cross-examination from each parties of the witness who's on stand. And then continue. And we are pretty sure that the session after that, but I'll check that. Session after that will be on Monday the 14th. All right.
6:30 on the 14th.
Yep, unless we. All right. Unless there's any further from the Honorable Zoning Board, I will recess until April 10th and at 6:30.